A lot has happened in the past week, and more excitingly than anything else, the Blast Open London has kicked off. Recording this as of Saturday the 6th, it has already commenced. However, there's still a lot to talk about. Welcome back to Gooie. Welcome back, everybody, to the show. Another week, another lot of news to get through. Kicking off, since Blast London Open has commenced, we may as well start speaking about next year. And the Blast Open for Season 1 in 2026, we're going to be going to Rotterdam. The Dutch city is going to be welcoming 6 of the best teams in the world. I would assume we're going to be having an online stage to kick off once again like we have in London. And there's going to be a $1.1 million prize pool. It's set to kick off between the 27th and 29th in Rotterdam, assuming again there's going to be an online qualifier up until we get to that point. So it's very exciting. Love going to the Netherlands for any reason. Counter-Strike more so than anything else. And going to events is something that organisers and events, they like to keep people and the players on their commitments. ESL has adjusted their rulebook a little bit because there was a lot of teams rumoured to be going to PGL Masters in Bucharest and also IEM in Chengdu. This has caused a couple of problems for IEM and Intel Extreme Masters, as many teams, if they were going to PGL, they would not be able to fully commit to their media requirements for Intel Extreme Masters. They wouldn't be able to get to China with enough time to fully complete their media day and their media commitments, even if they left the moment after PGL Bucharest. So they've slightly adjusted the rulebook where if teams did want to leave the event, they currently have a 2-day window to do so, which I believe that's closing pretty shortly. It's going to close. And if you are going to both, there's going to be problems. There's going to be issues. The exact repercussions for doing both and missing your media commitments has not been fully publicized yet. However, there's a 2-day period where teams who are looking at going to both, they need to make up a decision. They need to decide whether they're going to be going to Bucharest for the PGL Masters or whether they're going to be going to Chengdu for Intel Extreme Masters. You can't do both. Obviously, teams are wanting to do both because if they can attend both and do pretty well at both, that's going to boost them in the VRS standings, which assists getting them into the major. Unfortunately, that's not the case. You've got to keep up your media commitments, and unfortunately, these organisers are very strict on that sort of stuff. I don't know. Depending on the team you are, you're probably going to do better at Bucharest, so you might be wanting to play Bucharest over Chengdu, and then obviously that allows more teams to qualify for either. So it assists the smaller teams, the not quite as good teams, in making their way to a big VRS event, and that gets them another event to get them some points in the VRS standing. Fnatic going to be doing quite well in the standings as they have won Draculan Season 1, which is a bit of an interesting event. The whole sort of style and vibe of it, not too bad. The prize pool's not big. It was only $10,000. It was a very small one. Fnatic, Monty, and S9, Passion UA, Tricked. Like, they're not massive teams. NIP really shouldn't be there with the name and the history and the etc. whatever. They probably shouldn't be playing in Draculand, but they are. Obviously, this is one of the many, many smaller events that are going to be going between now and the closing date for the VRS standings to qualify for the major. A lot of these teams are going to be itching to get to the major. Fnatic, Monty, Ents, Nine, Eyeballers, Passion UA, and Nip. They're the biggest ones who are most likely to make it to the major. Nine currently sitting 39th in the VRS standings, Monty 69, Tricked 67, Ents 42, NIP sitting 20th, and Passion UA 27th. Fnatic even sitting at 32, but that is likely to increase quite a bit now that they have had some success at Draculand Season 1, played out in Bucharest. 3D Max also doing pretty well. They had success in the Perfect World CS Challenger Season 1, taking down Tai Lu, which is probably not looked upon very well, given the fact that Tai Lu is a Chinese team. The event was played in China, hosted by Perfect World, who is Chinese, and then these French come along and just kind of take care of them, wipe the floor, if you will, in a 2-0 fashion. It was close. 13-11 for 3D Max on their map pick, and Train went to overtime being Tai Lu's map pick. Inferno was left over, which is a pretty good map for 3D Max as well. And this brings back a little bit of the rivalry. They generally go neck and neck most of the way, 3D Max and Tai Lu. The last time they met was in IEM Cologne, where we had a quadruple overtime on Inferno. So we could have had a very interesting third map there. Unfortunately, though, we did not. And the Perfect World CS Challenger 1, again, another small VRS event that many, many teams are going to want to be getting their hands in. Unfortunately, for the sake of China and all the Asian CS community, the French have done it again. And this sees 3D Max sitting at a comfortable 9th place in the VRS. Okay, I see you, France, doing pretty well. Not too shabby. And of course, we've got roster moves galore. It was suspected that Magisk is going to be leaving the bench of the Falcons. Obviously, they benched him to pick up Keisuke. And Astralis has returned... Magisk has returned to Astralis. He's going to be joining Device, coming from the good old Astralis era. Obviously, this comes as Stown is stepping back due to personal reasons. Obviously, they're not going to be publicized what they are, but that's not important. There's been a little bit of jesting on Twitter with this one. Dupree, who recently retired and is currently sitting on the desk for major events, is actually doing pretty good. He has a very good insight on the game, Dupree does. He was joking that he shouldn't have retired yet, and he would have gone back to the Astralis era to redo what they've done before. But of course, probably not going to happen, because let's be honest, Magisk, he wasn't good back then, and he definitely isn't now. So let's see what happens. Obviously, a lot of the Astralis era, for the most part, many people are putting it down to Zonic and the way that he was able to wrangle the team as well. Obviously, the players do the shooting, but so Astralis have been in a slump for 100 years, almost ever since that era ended. They've been in a slump that they've never been able to get out of. To be completely honest with you, Magisk is not the answer. Unless going back to a fully Danish team is what's going to help him, he's not going to be able to fix Astralis, because he was not good on Falcons. He was not good at all. But again, it could be a language barrier, and it could be XYZ, could be whatever. The only way that we're going to be able to get answers is when we watch him play on this roster. And obviously, I'm going to keep you up to date on that when it happens. Norbert is joining Hotu on a 2-month loan, which is going to be interesting. He is going to be replacing Cade on the roster, and he's going to be playing his first event, the European Pro League, which actually kicks off tonight, excitingly enough. So that's going to be very interesting to see. Online event. Again, VRS points are going to be very important, again, for everyone to be getting VRS points for the major. We've got teams like Eternal Fire, we've got teams like Metasport, we've got teams like Amcal, Eyeballers, Reason, Sinners. It's actually a fairly good lineup that we've got. BC Game as well with Simple. Would be great to see him back at a major. Obviously, we didn't get Simple stickers at the last one because of Silly Blast and Valve and their stupid rules. But it's going to be very good if BC Game can keep on the rise. Currently sitting at 49th for the VRS, which is, I believe, slightly outside of the ability to be getting an invite. So VRS points are going to be very important for them, and it's going to be very good to see how Norbert fits in Ho2. On top of that, Ecstatic has benched Christo, and have also come to the decision they're not going to be continuing with Manx as their trial coach. Fortunately for the team, though, they had plans already in place, and Acor is going to be jumping across from Gamer Legion. He was obviously on Mouse as well for a small period of time. He's going to be taking up the AWP spot on the Danish team, which is very exciting. This decision for Ecstatic obviously comes after their embarrassment against FaZe. The young Polishman Jacob just recently started playing for FaZe Clan. There was a 13-0 on Inferno. Third map went to overtime. It was won by FaZe. It wasn't too bad a map, but FaZe are the reason that Ecstatic is not going to London. Obviously, we know that FaZe is also being sent home from London. But at the moment, Acor is going to be assisting Ecstatic with their rebuild and refix after their small embarrassment. And embarrassments is something that Virtus Pro are quite used to at this point. The team has been shocking for many years. Perfecto is now stepping up to be the IGL for the team after Electronic's departure. I mean, he's been in the game for a while. He knows a lot. He's seen a lot. He could call some pretty good things at the moment, though. Their bigger problem is they don't have a full team, so I wouldn't really be worrying about your IGL. You need to figure out what's going on. So we got Flit, Fame, Icy Perfecto. Finn is the coach, and we have two on the bench, including Norbert, who's been loaned out to Ho2. So, look, you need to have an IGL. It's important to have. However, get a full team first. Seriously, what's going on? Smooya standing in for NIP at Fragville, which is a very interesting name for an event. The Fragville 2025. Okay, hosted in Knoxville in the United States. Being completely candid here, this is the first time I'm seeing this event. Unsurprisingly, ranked, VRS, etc. It's going to be kicking off probably tonight in terms of, or Saturday night, in terms of, what's going on. HLTV page is very blank for it. All I can tell you is that NIP, NIP are going to be there because that's what the HLTV report is saying. Much like Wildcard, they're saying that Fiku is going to be coming across. Been on the bench for OG for a little while. He was a very good player. I generally would put him as probably one of my favorites. I think his playstyle is quite interesting, quite fun, etc. Just another Polishman who's doing the rounds on a couple of teams, trying to find a permanent home. OG wasn't the place. They've had him benched for a while, like I said. Generally a fairly positive rating, does quite well, is a pretty positive character to have on the team as far as I'm aware. So I think he'll do quite well in Wildcard as they're kind of building a bit of an international team at the moment. Stanislaw, another big name, the Canadian, who is on Wildcard. Susp as well, and Fizzy also benched. So, both Swedes. So obviously they're okay with mixing Europe and the US. Generally, it works pretty okay. We didn't for FaZe. Elige is gone. Rest in peace. It's going to be interesting to see how Fiku goes on Wildcard. And on the plane home from London is FaZe and M80. Mouse and M80 was a lot more of an exciting game than FaZe and G2, to be completely honest. It was a bit disappointing for Jacob this time around. His first stage game hasn't really gone the way he would have wanted. A .81 rating, 27 and 38 KD. just across the board, not very good. Inferno wasn't a standout game, 9 and 10 for him. Dust 2, very much so, was not 18 and 28. That was a bit more of an exciting game as we went to overtime, but FaZe just weren't there. It's the same thing that we just keep going on and on. FaZe are just not there. They don't exist when they need to be. However, on the other side, G2, it's an exciting conversation to have. They've struggled for quite a while. At the moment, they're only sitting at 12th and 13th for the VRS. It's the lowest they've been for many, many months, and it has been dropping the entire year. Obviously, Manasi Nico leaving, that really left a big hole, but they've had very, very poor events the entire time. They came second at Bucharest. They came first in the first bracket for the last bounty. Perfect Worlds. We're going back to when we had the boys there. So really, since they left, they've only had some success at Bucharest. And I mean, that wasn't a ridiculously overflowing event. We had Complexity, we had Aurora, VP, Gamer Legion. It wasn't a ridiculously full-on event. So they did manage to get to the grand finals. I'll give them that. They got to the grand finals. They did lose to Falcons. That makes sense with the lineup that they had, but it's good to see that G2 are doing good. It's good to see that G2 are coming back. Heavy God doing amazing. Matthias, who's only just started on the team, he's doing great. Hunter taking over as the IGL, and he's still getting a 1.29 rating at the end of the day. Absolutely insane. Where Carrigan on the other side, 34 and 41.97 rating. That's still pretty good. That's pretty bloody good for Carrigan. So it's good to see the G2 are doing good. It's great to see the G2 are doing good, actually. On the other side, like I said, Mal's M80, that was a bit more of an exciting game. M80, unfortunately, they did lose. But, you know, a bit more stage presence. It's good. It's great, getting used to it. It's what you need to do. Ancient, Mirage, and Inferno. Once again, we see swapping picks. Mal's winning on Ancient, didn't pick it. M80 winning on Mirage, didn't pick it. Fairly similar, 13-10, 13-9 apiece. But Inferno was a blowout. Mouse 13-3 on that one. Was quite a good performance from Spinks. 2.25 rating. 20-7. Absolutely incredible. And we only had one positive rating of M80 on M80. 1.26. Well, tonight, what we see, Vitality in Mouse. You see it all the time. It's happened before. It's going to happen again. Checking out the history, well, it's not surprising. Vitality's doing pretty good there. Last time they met at Cologne, though, it was a Mouse show. 13-8, 39. Trainer Mirage. Probably going to ban that this time, or better prepare. So it's going to be good to see how that one goes. Furia, Brazil. They were successful over Mouse, Spirit, and Legacy. 3 in a row in the online stage. It's going to be good to see how they go against G2. They've taken down quite some heavy bloody hitters, Spirit and Mouse. Depending on how quickly and how good G2 have rebuilt, could be a battle. Could be interesting. Love to see Brazil in the grand final again. I'd love to see Furia taking on Vitality, one of the biggest and oldest names in Counter-Strike, especially Brazil, taking on some of the young guns. Then again, they've beaten Mouse at this event before. They could beat them again. So if Mouse is successful over Vitality, we could have a Brazilian winner in London. How cool does that sound? That sounds incredible. At the moment, though, that's all we got. Lots of moves, lots of good, lots of bad. And London is lighting up at Wembley. Yellow and red is going to be first. Black, green, I suppose, Brazil. And white, black for G2. It's going to be a great night. It's going to be a good night. Lots to come and lots more to talk about, of course. Twitter is where I'm most up to date. Gooie CS. Very easy. And, of course, there's much more to find there. For the moment, I leave you in London. It's going to be very exciting. Wembley is lighting up. And I'll talk to you later.